Now here's an interesting story coming out of Alabama, specifically Hanceville. The city of Hanceville has a population of 3,217, and the Cullman County, which is where Hanceville is located, is 90,000. So here are 6 individuals. 5 of these individuals are police officers, including the chief. Chief of the police is Jason Marlin. And so Jason Marlin is this guy right here in the bottom left. And then these other 4 are the deputies: William Shelnut, Cody Kelso, Jason Wilbanks, and then Eric Kelso. So I don't know if these 2 Kelsos are related to one another. Then Donna Kelso. And so I guess that's one of the spouses of either Eric or Cody. They have been indicted, and they've been indicted for a number of things having to do with drugs, tampering with evidence, tampering with computer things, tampering with evidence, using their position to, do corruption. Now, all this is going to be started. This all was precipitated because there was a guy named Willingham, a guy by the name of Mr. Willingham, back in August 2024, so, 6 months ago or so. He had died from the combined toxic effects of fentanyl, gabapentin, diazepam, amphetamine, carisoprodol, and methocarbamol. So because of the combined toxic effects of all those things, he's going to die. He's going to overdose, right? And then they're saying, well, how is the dispatch overdosing on all these drugs? Well, that's a good question too. So here's a picture on one of the press conferences, and then here's a broom handle right here. Looks like 2, cardboard boxes, and then you see this big hole right here. Well, what's this big hole right here? Well, you just stick your head in it with the broom handle, and then you jimmy the door open, and then once you jimmy the door open, then you're able to get into the evidence locker. Here's a guy here, and they said they unnamed him. They're also doing all this in front of security cameras, which is incredible because, a lot of these people, when they are in a position of authority, they just think that they're untouchable. And so this is both bad and good for, law enforcement. This is good for the Cullman County law enforcement, the prosecutor and the, system behind Cullman County, because they're going after these guys, which is a small town. It's only a population of 3,217. So I don't know how much drugs that they're getting, but they're arresting people for drugs and they're putting it into the evidence locker, and then these folks are going through the evidence locker and helping themselves. So the guy is going to die on fentanyl, so that sounds like a bunch of pills and stuff. I don't know. It didn't seem like there was any cocaine or heroin, or crack, even marijuana. I didn't even hear about any marijuana. He didn't. Anyway, so they're going through the evidence. And so for the prosecutor, he says because there's tampered evidence, the evidence has been tampered with, he doesn't feel 100% safe to prosecute it. And these are accusations. These have been arrests for state and municipal court. For state and municipal court. So you see this guy here. They didn't name who this guy is right here, which that's interesting because why not? And you can see he's got his guns right there, right? So he's sticking his head through there. He's got the broom, and then he's going to do something over here with the handle. And then I guess you could open the door from the inside but not the outside. This is incredible. This is incredible. This is the dispatch. So a lot of times I've heard where cases where people have died, the dispatch is just being absolute psychopaths. There was a woman who was about to drown. She calls the dispatch and water's pouring into her car, and then the dispatch is just being so uppity and so haughty-taughty and just, you were being rude to me, so I don't even know if I even send a person out to you. There's been that has happened a bunch of times. So if you're ever wondering, man, this dispatch doesn't sound like they really give a damn. They could be high on fentanyl. They could be high on fentanyl. Or something else, getting into the evidence, chamber. So that's this is where it all precipitated because of this. And then all of their charges has to do with that guy dying. So they started investigating, they started taking a look at it, they presented all their findings to a grand jury. So even in, Alabama, Cullman, Alabama, which was named after an 1848er, which that's pretty remarkable, a German who had lost their money in the 1848 revolution and then came to America. So here's the different picture of their faces, right? Cody Kelso, Eric Kelso, and William Shellnut. William Shellnut. So, when they have the badge, when they have the gun, well, they're all, big and bad, right? They're all big and bad and nothing could ever happen to them. Well, now they're on the opposite end of the law. Now they're the accused. Now they're in jail. Jason Marlin, Jason Wilbanks, and Donna Kelso. So, they screwed themselves over. They had all that power. They had all that, all them perks. Go get, all the donuts that they want. That's what Dunkin' Donuts, that's the reason why they're associated with donuts, because Dunkin' Donuts used to give them free donuts. And the reason why they'd give the police officers free donuts, because they presumed by having cops at their establishment that would help protect their place. So it was a tit for tat, quid pro quo. The police would get some donuts, they would get the police protection, and then therefore, so all those perks, right? So even having the perks of having awesome state authority, they all had a license to kill. So it makes you think about anybody that ever got in trouble by these folks. If any of these folks ever got in trouble, if any of these folks ever pointed at somebody, accused somebody, arrested somebody, kidnapped somebody, and they said, that person committed A, B, C, D, all those cases are now in doubt. There's even the evidence that's been tampered with. All those cases are in doubt too. And they could have actually done some, good work. But if they're going to stop cocaine dealers and then just turn around and, steal the cocaine out of the cocaine, stash, here's the prosecutor. I'll just do a quick clip of him.
Nothing was secure about the evidence room, and when Mr. Willingham was discovered, there was evidence in his office.
Crocker went into detail on...
So that's the main guy right there. So that's the prosecutor, and then I think that's the sheriff right there. So these two are the ones that's, pushing for this case. So good on these guys. These guys look super honest, super integrity. A lot of the fact that they're willing to arrest the police, they're not believing in, a thin blue line. They're allowed to commit all the crimes that they want to commit, and we're all just going to turn a blind eye to it. No, he's saying a crime is a crime is a crime. And since the war on drugs is going strong, well, Eric Kelso, Donna and Kelso, Jason Marlin, William Shellnut, Cody Kelso, Jason Wilbanks, you're not allowed to get into the evidence locker and snort all the pills. You're not allowed to get into the evidence locker and steal all the drugs that you have collected. That's no. That's a no. That's a illegal. That's you can't use your position of influence in order to. So that's what's going on there. Here's a listing of all the charges of each one of the.
Jason Scott Wilbanks, 2 counts of computer tampering, 2 counts use of office for personal gain, 2 counts solicitation to commit a controlled substance crime, and tampering with physical evidence. Jason Shane Marlin, 2 counts of failure to report an ethics crime and tampering with physical evidence. William Andrew Shellnut, tampering with physical evidence, 1 count. Eric Michael Kelso, 4 counts, unlawful distribution of a controlled substance, 2 counts, conspiracy to unlawfully distribute a controlled substance. His spouse, Donna Reed Kelso, 2 counts, unlawful distribution of a controlled substance, 2 counts, conspiracy to unlawfully distribute a controlled substance.
So that's kind of remarkable. I don't know if you heard what they just said, but they said that Donna Kelso, she's not married to this Cody Kelso. She's married to Eric Kelso. And then here he's got one eye shooting off to this side, and then this eye is looking towards us. I guess I'm being a little shallow, but it just, what did she see in him? Was it the drugs that he was able to score for her? And then, if she wanted her drugs, right, what choice did he have? I mean, if she didn't get her drugs, then she would have thrown a little temper tantrum. He would have lost
All
his wife.
All charges are felonies, with the exception of tampering with physical evidence, which is a Class A misdemeanor. The grand jury, and I'm going to speak about the grand jury and their work, but first I want to tell you the grand jury's findings and recommendations, which were unanimous and made public by the grand jury.
That is remarkable. A grand jury is usually, 15 to 20 people? So I wonder how many people was in this grand jury. And not only are they going to recommend, that all these people be arrested, they put the indictments down, but they also point out to the culture of corruption. And they said that Hanceville, Alabama, the police department, it needs to be dissolved. They need to get rid of that police department altogether. And that's, they're gonna lose their sovereignty, whatever sovereignty that they had. But the Cullman County Police now will take care of the Hanceville, Alabama Police, unless the Hanceville, Alabama Police just kind of rebuild, their police department from the ground up. They lost their mayor just 1 year ago, so the mayor is brand new. And then there was a lawyer for the mayor. There was the reporter went into the town hall or the city hall to ask some questions, and the mayor didn't want to talk, but the lawyer came out and made a statement.
I'm going to read these 9 points for you. Number 1, that any current or former officer of Hanceville Police Department indicted be suspended from law enforcement by the Alabama Peace Officers Standards and Training Commission. Number 2, that the Hanceville Police Department be immediately abolished. Number 3, that another law enforcement agency, whether local or state, be tasked with protecting the citizens of Hanceville.
I want to just show a couple Wikipedia pages. Hanceville is a city in Cullman County, so here's where it's located in Alabama, in the northern part of Alabama, and then it's Cullman County, Alabama. So here's the population, 3,217, and then we go over here to Cullman County, and it's got a population of 87,866. And it's got TV stations. It says it's served by TV and FM radio stations from both Huntsville, Birmingham. The historic Cherokee and Choctaw lived there at the time of the European encounter. So there it is, right there, right? So northern Alabama and Cherokee, Choctaw, right? Okay, Cullman County was organized primarily by German-American immigrants. I mentioned this before. The vision of the colonizer, John G. Cullman, his Germans with their traditional work ethic and willingness to experiment with new products such as wine and strawberries, tried to make practical changes in southern farming. The Germans were outnumbered by more traditional families from neighboring regions who replicated the traditional southern cotton culture. So I think that's remarkable because Colonel John G. Cullman, he was going to take off because he was an 1848er that had lost everything. He lost everything. From the Revolution. John Godfrey Cullman, German businessman, political activist, immigrated to the U.S. as a result of his financial ruin related to the participation in the Revolution of 1848. He was born in Frank Wheeler in Rhine-Pfalz in what was then the Kingdom of Bavaria. So let's go back to this.
Number 4, based upon the investigation by the State Bureau of Investigation, we, the grand jury, find that the Hanceville Police Department is a particular and ongoing threat to public safety. Number 5, that there is a rampant culture of corruption in the Hanceville Police Department, which has recently operated as more of a criminal enterprise than a law enforcement agency. Number 6, that the Hanceville Police Department has abused public trust by its failure of oversight, lack of leadership, and negligent training and hiring. Number 7, that the Hanceville Police Department has failed to account for, preserve, and maintain evidence, and in doing so has failed crime victims and the public at large. This evidence is unusable.
So you have Mike Calvert. These are just 2 citizens from Hanceville. I read they were quoted as saying, Mike Calvert said that Hanceville was a tight-knit community. Well, apparently you weren't that tight-knit. We're a tight-knit community. Yeah, you get up in everybody's damn business, but you don't really know your damn neighbor. You don't even know who your police force is. So maybe that, living up in everybody's butts isn't the great. If anything, it's almost like it's a bunch of gossipers, a bunch of people and they're gossiping, getting together, and we're tight-knit. We're just a tight-knit community, and that's the way that we do things around here. We're tight-knit. Yeah, you're so damn tight-knit. How come it took the county to say something about the city? You're such a tight-knit. Where all you all taking everybody's drugs, and if you're so tight-knit, where are you getting the drugs from? Basically, you only got 3,000 people, so you're victimizing a couple of the poor folks, and then you're poor folks too, right? So, some people I guess do drugs to celebrate. Other people do it to alleviate their misery. But if you have a decent job, I would think that if you're the police chief, you're making a decent income. Not only do you have, income, but you also have power. And if you have money and power, that should, that's, Abraham Lincoln said that the true test of a person's character is you give them power. You give them power, and then you see if they were good or if they were bad. So clearly we saw that these folks were bad. Being in a tight-knit community, if anything, I hear that too many times. It's a tight-knit community, and then somebody's just going around stabbing some children. Oh, well, why did that happen? Maybe you guys just say it's supposed to be something that sounds good, and you only can get 10, 20 friends. There was some sort of number that said you can only have a core of friends, about 50, 20, 10, something like that. So it's a lot less than 3,200. So tight-knit community, bullshit. Amanda Hale said that the corruption has been going on for years. Amanda Hale is from Hanceville, Alabama, too. So the corruption has been going on for years. So maybe they do know. Maybe it's a tight-knit community, but they're on edge because they're afraid of their police force. And the corruption has been going on for years. And then you're supposed to get rid of the drugs. So, yeah, they were going after people with the drugs, but then they were doing the drugs themselves. And then I'll add a couple more things, because sometimes the police will marry the criminal gangs. You'll have some Trinde Aragua that's a police officer too. But this other thing I've heard happen more frequently. So the police, they are corrupt. And since they're corrupt, well, they want to still, crack down on the drug dealers. They'll pick one person to deal drugs. They'll allow one person to deal drugs. And so if they crack down on the competition for that drug dealer, and then they'll take the drugs and hand it to that guy, and then that guy will sell his drugs, but he'll also keep an eye out in the community for other drug dealers and other nonsense. So they basically allow one person to deal the drugs, and that's, kind of I don't want to say it's a perfect little thing, a perfect little, a perfect operation, because if they take the drugs, and then they, well, what are you going to do with those drugs? Well, you just give it to the supplier that you picked. And so you get to, look like a good guy. You get the drugs. You drop it off to him. So now you're getting a little bit of money for the drugs. You're killing his competition. So, of course, the drug dealer wants to be friends with the police and be on the,
Number 8. This grand jury toured the Hanceville jail on February 12th, 2025. We, the grand jury, have zero confidence in the Hanceville Police Department's ability to maintain the jail or to meet basic health and safety needs of jail personnel or inmates. Number 9, that the death of former Hanceville dispatcher Chris Willingham is the direct result of Hanceville Police Department's negligence, lack of procedure, general incompetence, and disregard for human life. Signed by the foreman, February 14th, 2025. I want to thank this grand jury. Only the grand jury knows all of the facts in this case. The grand jury was 18 people from all walks of life and different backgrounds from all over Cullman County.
That's exciting. The whole idea of the grand jury, that comes from English common law. It's in a whole bunch of constitutions. It's in the American Constitution. It's also in state constitutions. It comes from English common law. It's like the one thing that is specifically English common law. Blackstone, he talked about it. So the grand jury, I think, is amazing, because if you're the attorney, if you're the prosecuting attorney, once you get, befriend the people, you get 18 people out of the community. That elevates, who those 18 people are. That means they are kind of like a ruling class family themselves. And the indictment, the grand jury people, they're just the court before the court. So in some respects, it stops, major felonies from going forward, because if they look at the situation, it doesn't sound like it's a felony. Well, they're not going to allow it to go forward. But they're both indicted, they can indict people for crimes, but they can also investigate. So they kind of have unlimited powers. They have the powers kind of the Inquisition. So they can, put forth the indictment, and then the actual trial, the petite trial. So grand jury is big jury, right? Then the petite jury, the little jury. Grand jury because it's 18 people. And then Blackstone says what's awesome about having that system, basically you need at least 12 of your fellow countrymen to indict you, and then you'll need 12 of your countrymen to convict you. And so that provides it's both a sword and a shield. So if I'm the prosecutor, I would want to have a grand jury because I would be weighing in with the people. I would be weighing in with members of the community. Yeah, you were elected to that position, but when you have the grand jury combined with the prosecutor, then you're unstoppable. I've even heard Scalia say that there's nothing that can stop the grand jury. So the grand jury, there's no limiting principle. So the grand jury can indict presidents, judges, they can indict, governors, they can indict police, they can indict the rich, the wealthy, the powerful. So if you are a smart politician, if you're a good person, then you would want to be in contact with the people because the people see things, and then that's something too. So if they see something particularly, then they could bring it forward in the grand jury, and then they could weigh out the other accusations too, and then they'll serve their indictments. So this is an awesome man right here.
They took an oath to diligently inquire indictable offenses without malice or fear, and to the best of their ability. Before we started, the grand jury and I said a prayer together, and we asked that the Lord's wisdom and discernment guide every part of this process. They reviewed the evidence for days, and they weren't afraid to ask tough questions. This grand jury upheld their oaths on behalf of the citizens of Cullman County, and they were unanimous in their recommendations, and they were unanimous in all the indictments that I have listed. I want to talk about the evidence room, and we're going to have another slide for you. One of the most concerning things that we discovered in this process was that Hanceville Police Department's evidence room was not secure. Criminal evidence must be secured for days, and they weren't afraid.
So this guy, his name is Champ Crocker. I just found that out. So good on Champ Crocker. Champ Crocker, you actually got a champion, in Alabama. I'm not going to make this about the war on drugs, because in a free country, you would think a person would have a right to do with their own bodies. But it's the hypocrisy. It's the hypocrisy. It's the double standards. It's, I'm going to, nab you and put charges on you, and then I'm going to go snort your, fentanyl. And then the only reason that they found out about it was because somebody overdosed. Somebody overdosed on their tampering with evidence. So this guy's name is he's the district attorney for Cullman County, and his name is Champ Crocker. So Alabama has a people's champ. And his first name actually literally is Champ. So Champ Crocker. Good on Champ. Like I said, this is both a good thing and a bad thing for law enforcement. This says that the rule of law applies in America. Nobody can break the laws. Nobody can break the laws. Especially felonies. Especially the big laws. Nobody can do rapes. Nobody can do arsons. Nobody can do assaults. Nobody can steal. Nobody can murder. Let's agree on the felonies, and if we could all agree on the felonies, I think that would make a lot of sense, because we're not really on the same page. And then that's all I'm going to say about that.